welcome everybody to a very, very special QB Appy Hour with Liz and Heather. Today is all about Zapier. Yay! So we're very, very excited to have Neal Coogler and Jessie Parker on the call with us. We're going to be talking all about automation and how we can use Zapier to automate the workflows in both our own practices and possibly for our clients. So I'm just going to go ahead and introduce myself real quick. My name is Heather Satterlee, for those of you that don't know me, and I am a advanced certified QuickBooks ProAdvisor, a Zapier expert, and an accountant by trade. So that's Liz. And Liz is a partner in Accounting Lifeline in Oklahoma. Oh, can you?
Yay, I'm here.
Hey, there she is. How's Philadelphia?
Philly is great. It's super cool. So I'm here at live training, and so what's amazing is there are 250 brand new QBO users.
That's so
awesome.
That's awesome. Did you guys play Jeopardy?
So we're getting ready to. So I'm only here for like 30 minutes because the room has been here all day long and since 8 o'clock this morning. And so they're ready to play Jeopardy at 4:30. So I'll have to jump off here so I can go in there to play Jeopardy with them.
All right, not a problem. I will totally cover for you, my friend. So we're going to hang out here and talk Zapier for a whole hour. Like, I could not be happier.
Zapier is happier. I was kidding. It's insane.
You know, Jessie, I'm going to introduce Jessie and Neal, but Jessie, that's how I learned how to say Zapier correctly, was when you guys finally added that tagline, Zapier makes you happier. And I would present about Zapier, and I would constantly switch back and forth to Zapier, and I had no idea how to pronounce it. So thank you for that.
Of course, I'll let everyone in the company know. we did something right.
Well, I would love to introduce Jessie. Since you've already talking, I'll introduce you first. This is Jessie Parker, who is head of the communities, right, at Zapier.
Yep, community manager.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about your role at Zapier?
Yeah, definitely. So right now I'm the community manager, so I help run our brand new online forum. It's still in beta mode, but I'll tell you all about that later. And in addition to that, I actually run our experts program. So I work with consultants like Heather and other agencies that are using Zapier with their clients. And I facilitate the training around that, the community around that, make sure all those folks are happy and they have the tools that they need to make our mutual customers happy. So that's what I'm doing right now. But I've held a lot of different titles at Zapier. I've been there for almost 6 years now, since just about the very beginning. I was employee number 8. So I've had a wealth of different experiences around the company, which is pretty neat. But yep, right now I'm heading up community, which I'm really stoked about.
That's awesome. And one of the unique things about Zapier is that you guys don't have a headquarters. You don't have a building. Everybody's 100% remote, right?
Correct. Yep. We've worked 100% remotely from day one. That's something that the co-founders really believed in. We just wanted to hire the best people possible to work at Zapier. We didn't care where they were located, when they wanted to work. We just wanted the best. So we have, I think, over 260 people now distributed all over the world, which is really exciting.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And I mean, that's right in our alley too, because we're, Liz and I, we're huge proponents of working in the cloud and having that flexibility so that you can have your work-life balance and work where you want, when you want, how you want. So Zapier is a huge part of that for us.
I agree. It's like, so I was just talking to this classroom and I was saying, years ago, it was shameful to say, hey, I work at home. And now it's like, when you get hired with our firm, you get a pair of fuzzy bunny slippers because it's a celebration. You no longer have to go out to an actual office and work. You get to celebrate that you're working in your own office at your own desk, and the coffee is amazing.
It is, and not only that, like your video calls become much more interesting when you're working with other people that work out of their home. Like, for example, today I was on a call with some of my colleagues, and my kitten, my kitten Alfie, Liz. So there's a hole right behind me that goes into the wall. And so I was on the call, and all of a sudden I heard this commotion behind me. and the kitten went into the wall. And so I had to stop the meeting, and I was like, I have an emergency. Like, my kitten just went into the wall, and I need to get him out. We had to stop the meeting and go fish Alfie out of the wall. We got him out of the wall. Everything was good. You know, it wasn't little Jimmy fell into the well. It was little Alfie fell into the wall, but everything's okay now. So that would never happen in an office, right?
And it wasn't, no, that's like, you know, and I love my office dog. Like, I love my office dog.
Awesome.
So, fun stuff.
Neal, we're so happy. Neal is one of my favorite people, and she has the most amazing shoe collection. Every time I see you, Neal, I look at your feet because I know that you're going to have something amazing on them.
Oh, that's funny. And Wayne Schmidt is another one of Carbon. I don't know if you've ever checked his shoes out.
Oh, yes.
That's quite a shoe collection, too. We could have a shoe throwdown, probably.
You guys probably could. You're both very snappy dressers. I gotta tell you, like, in my group of like the top best dressed people, you guys are probably my two winners. So, so kudos to you for that. So, Neal, tell us a little bit about your business, all about business services, and yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're based in San Jose, and it's a small firm of 3 people. It's myself and my partner, and then we have a staff bookkeeper also. And I started the firm on my own, and we've just grown over time. And I was one of those people that started off in QuickBooks Desktop, and at first I thought, oh, QuickBooks Online, well, it's kind of nice, but it doesn't do this and it doesn't do that. And now we're 100% online, QuickBooks Online, and no looking back on that one. You know, we we love living in the cloud, basically.
Yeah, I remember back in 2012, Intuit did their Freedom in the Cloud tour, and this was all a brand new idea, right, to everybody. Mm-hmm. And we all went, and they were telling us, you know, we were all everything was gonna be online, and we all kind of looked at them sideways and said, what?
Yeah.
And here we are, and
yep.
Once you're on board with it, really you don't look back, because the amount of flexibility and, you know, stability in your own life that it affords you is pretty amazing.
Well, and things are so much faster for us too. I mean, between the automations and QuickBooks Online itself is so much faster too.
It is.
So. And
you work with your daughter, Melanie.
I do. She is my partner, and and it's been great. And she's now in a master's program studying applied anthropology and the impact of artificial intelligence on the bookkeeping community. And so it's been great. I've been feeling like I'm kind of also living through the master's program process, which you just went through too.
I did. I just finished my master's last month. So
yeah, congratulations. I had not yet congratulated you. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was such a long haul. So I'm happy for it to be over.
Yes. By the time, by QuickBooks Connect, we should all have a toast.
Yes, absolutely. And there's Melanie there. Hi, Melanie. Nice to see you.
Oh, is she there?
Yeah. Oh. She's here. So she says she's checking in from San Jose. So awesome. Virtual toast. All right. So let's get this party started now that we've got you guys introduced. A huge thank you to Jessie and Zapier for coming on the show this month. We're going to do, we just did our welcome, and Neal's going to talk about ways that she's automated her practice using Zapier, among other things. And then we're going to raise a toast, and we have a lovely cocktail. I was saying earlier that my lovely cocktail is in my QuickBooks mug, staying nice and cold. And then we're going to take a look at, Jessie's going to talk to us about how to implement Zapier, when is the right time to use it, how to use it. And then I'm going to share a couple of coolest things that I've learned over the last, year or so from Jessie. And then we'll talk about a preview of our next episode. Sound good? All
yes.
Right. Okay. So, hey, Liz, look at the new slide I made.
Very, very cool. I was just checking that out.
Isn't that pretty? I had fun with that.
Yeah.
You're the first one. You're the first one, Neal, with this fancy new slide.
Yeah, I love it. I love the mic. It's good. Makes me feel powerful. All right. Well, I said a little bit of this stuff, but we are based in San Jose. We are a pretty tech-oriented firm, but I did want to say you do not have to be a tech-oriented person to use Zapier. I really think anybody can use it. We are advanced certified in QuickBooks Online. We're certified bookkeepers by the ICB, and brand new, I think you don't know about this yet, Heather, but I think as of next week, I will be an accredited business advisor and consultant with the Institute of Business Advisors. So, yay! Excited about that. Okay. So anyhow, when we were, next slide. So when we were talking about this presentation, Heather asked me how Zapier might have changed our practice. And so this slide pretty much says it all. I think it really has been pretty instrumental in helping our practice really take off. But I wanted to tell you my Zapier story kind of in connection with that, which is I first heard of Zapier, and it was either QB Connect or Scaling New Heights. I'm not sure which it was, but it was your presentation, Heather, on 5 Zaps. And I went and I listened, and I was just really fascinated. I thought this sounded awesome. And not too long after that, I saw the two of you, Liz and Heather, where you guys were teaching that ProAdvisor Master class. And that's when I learned that Heather was going to be teaching a 5-week Zapier workshop. So I signed up immediately. And it turned out the timing on that was just perfect for us, because this was maybe a 1.5 years or so ago. We were going through this whole process of rethinking our tech stack. I was expanding the office. I set up a new office and so on. And so we were already starting to look at applications, but I had a new criteria after that, which was they all had to work with Zapier. So that gives you an idea of really what an impact it had on us.
That's amazing. So, you know, I was, Neal, you were part of my very first Zapier cohort, and I've had 8 of them now. And one of the things that we did in that first class, and I've done it with every cohort since, is I asked you guys to do an app inventory. And remember, I went through all the apps that you guys were using, and then I went onto the Zapier platform and I told you which ones were on the Zapier platform, which ones weren't on the Zapier platform, and then I did a percentage. And I think with that first cohort, there was, I think it was like 56%. Does that sound right to you? There's 56%.
You know, I don't remember.
Only I would remember. I think it was 56% of you had 50% of the apps that you guys were using were on the Zapier platform. Well, the last cohort that I calculated was 76.
Wow.
So over the last almost 2 years, that's a big increase to the number of apps that are on the Zapier platform. So it's really nice to see.
Seems like it's all the time you're hearing of some new integration, right?
Right. And some of the heavy hitters in our industry, you know, like Receipt Bank just launched their Zapier integration. Arrow Workflow, Practice Ignition, Auto Entry's working on one. So Veeam. So there's a lot of heavy hitters that are now we're able to integrate with.
Okay, next slide, please. So I wanted to, then I figured you guys were going to want to know how we use our app. So I basically set up these 5 categories, and then I'm going to talk about some examples of each one of them. So sometimes you may have something that you need to do, some kind of batch thing, and it may make sense, even though you're only going to use that Zap one time, it may make sense. You may save enough time to have use for a one-time Zap. We also create tasks and appointments that we send to our practice management system. We use it to create notifications. We do the internal process automation thing, which my guess is probably most people, when they think about automations in Zapier, that's probably what they're thinking about. And we do that also. And then we also do some client-facing apps. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So the one-time use Zap. So here's the scenario. When I was saying about 1.5 years ago or so, we were expanding the firm. I was setting up a new office, hiring. I was going to completely redo our file system in ShareFile. And I wanted my file structure to be more standardized, because we had done everything in a very organic way before. So every client folder had different subfolders in it, and I wanted a few of them to be the same in every client folder. I didn't care if maybe we had a few add-ons, but I wanted these basic ones to be the same. So what you guys are looking at in this slide is the kind of the overall structure. There's a main clients folder, and under that a folder for each client, and then those are my 5 kind of basic subfolders. Then within those, there may be more, like within documents there's some additional subfolders, within payroll some, within taxes some. And so what I did with this is I took advantage of the fact that in ShareFile there's a template, a folder template feature. So what you do is you can have several different templates, but I set this one up for the new clients, and then I created a Zap that would, you know, as the full workflow, it was going to allow me to just automatically create this whole slew of folders. So I think the Zap took maybe 10 minutes for me to create. It's a really simple one, like maybe a 2-step Zap, and I really think it saved me many hours when you think about it, because this was probably maybe 100 client folders that I was setting up. So here's how it worked. First you had to figure out, actually the longest part of this whole process was figuring out what my folder template should look like. And once I did that, it was easy to set it up in ShareFile. I created a Google sheet with my list of client names. So column A, you know, row 1 through 100, all it is a bunch of client names. So that Google sheet is what is going to trigger the Zap. So Zaps need something to trigger them. That was going to be the trigger, just that list of client names. So I ran the Zap, and all it did is go to the file, and it read the first client name, and it created the folder. Back to Google Sheets, client name folder, so on and so on and so on. And then once that was completed, I went into ShareFile and I applied the template to that parent clients folder. And you can tell it, you know, create it with all the subfolders, boom, and they're all created in one fell swoop. So I was so excited about this, I actually wrote an article about it, which ended up getting published in Intuitive Accountant. So if any of you guys are interested, there's a step-by-step article there that tells you exactly how to do this. Next slide.
What a great idea. Do you have this now set up on your customer onboarding so that when you have a new customer or client comes on, this automatically does it?
Awesome. Yes, it'll automatically create the new ones. But this was because I was moving en masse from an old system to the new one.
Right.
So now so tasks and appointments. So the sad story around this is that I'm one of those people that wakes up in the middle of the night going, oh, I got to remember this, I got to remember that. And what I used to do is I either had a little notebook or I emailed myself a message that said, do this in the morning. And what we did here is I created a Zap, and it takes advantage of this email robot thing that's in Zapier. So all I'm really doing is sending an email to this particular email address, and it's going to create a task in Arrow, which is our project management system, or I could create an appointment, but I can use this now in the middle of the night to send myself something, and it will actually create the task in Arrow. And this, I believe, is one of Melanie's favorite Zaps. Somebody asked earlier about favorite Zaps. I think this is Melanie's favorite, she tells me. I know she uses this one quite a lot. And the other thing that's nice about this one is it doesn't really matter what email client I'm using. I could be in Outlook, I could be in that one with Edge, or I could use Gmail, Yahoo. It doesn't really matter because it's all going to the same email address. Let's get to the next slide. The notifications. I have to say, I cannot be the only person here whose clients keep running out and doing crazy things with their QBO accounts, adding, you know, who knows what. And then and you can set up a notification for that. The particular example I'm showing you here is one of my law firm clients has Practice Panther. So Practice Panther does have a Zapier integration, yay, which is good. It also has a QBO integration. And here's the thing, you know, my client was getting in and setting up services in Practice Panther. And then they would change their mind about the way that service, what it was named. So the first invoice, maybe they called it discount. And then they called it next invoice courtesy discount. And then after that, it was, they didn't like that. So I guess it was discount, I don't know, courtesy write-off, whatever. In the end, we had like 5 services, all for discounts, all getting created automatically in QuickBooks Online, mapped to the same wrong default Practice Panther account. So I was a little tired of that. So I set up this Zap. And so because there's an integration with Practice Panther, what this Zap is every time my client now creates a new service item in Practice Panther, I get notified so I can go in and do a little bit of management before things get too out of control. So I am also fond of this Zap. So next slide, please. Okay, now we're getting to, and now the other ones I was talking about were all very, very simple. Maybe 1 or 2 steps, I mean, two or 3 steps maybe. Nothing really that much going on in terms of on the Zapier side. This one is a little bit more complex, and this is going to be an administrative onboarding automation. And so this one is going to involve multiple Zaps and multiple applications. So I told you a little bit earlier that we went through and we kind of reevaluated and redid our tech stack. And what we wound up landing on is Practice Ignition for our proposal system, Arrow Workflow for our practice management, ShareFile, which I already mentioned, for our files, and then this Zap also uses Google Forms and Google Sheets. So, and by the way, this is based on originally on a onboarding Zap that you taught, Heather, in that first workshop, and then we've gone on and done some of our other, kind of our own spin on it and so on. But anyhow, so the way it works is we set up, or I set up, because I'm the one that really does most of the onboarding, which is why this is probably my favorite Zap, because it saves me a ton of work. Anyhow, we set up the proposal in Practice Ignition, and it gets sent to the client for e-signing. So another thing that's cool about this is Practice Ignition will send reminders if they haven't signed the proposal yet. So once I send it off, I don't really have to worry about it anymore. Practice Ignition is going to remind them. By the way, I have tagged this proposal as a new client. Why? Because not all my proposals are going to be new client proposals. But so Zapier is going to look for that tag. It's going to get triggered by the fact that the proposal has been signed. It's going to look for that new client tag. And then if that tag is there, then it's going to send the client an email asking them to complete a contact information form, which is a Google form. And here's another really interesting thing that I've observed in this process, and that is because the client is sitting down, they just signed your proposal, they immediately got this acknowledgement email back asking them to do something, they tend to do it right away. Whereas if I delay, and even by a few hours, and I send them an email and say, can you please send out this contact form? They've gone on, they've done something else, they're in a meeting or whatever, and it may be another day before they complete that contact form. So I feel like just the fact that they got really immediate feedback really speeds up this piece quite a bit. So anyway, they fill out the form, and then once they do that, that triggers, so the form then writes another row into that Google Sheet. So that's the next trigger for Zapier. And then Zapier goes on to create the new client in QuickBooks Online, which then flows through to Arrow. It creates that new share file folder you were asking about, Heather, for the client, and it sends an email to my scheduler letting her know that we have a new proposal signed. It's not on the slide, but it also creates a task in Arrow that lets us know that a proposal has been signed and there's work ready to be scheduled. And then finally, it sends them a final email telling them that they've been entered into our system. And that final email is also a little bit of a marketing piece because it says, hey, our automated system just did all of these things. If you'd like to talk about streamlining and automating your processes, talk to us.
What a great idea, Neal. That is brilliant. Brilliant.
Every time you have it, you can, you know, kind of remind them of the other things you do. I think you should. And then I have my newest idea with this, which just, my idea was yesterday, so I haven't done it yet, but I'm thinking, oh, the next thing I want to do is to automate sending my startup checklist to them as a part of this process. So that's going to be my next effort. So anyway, next slide, please. So I just wanted to show everybody what these Zaps produced. And so what this is a example of my welcome email. And it looks just like it came from my regular email account. It's got my, reply to is my regular email address. Dear client, thank you for your business. Please complete the form, blah, blah, blah. There's the link to the form. And then next slide, please. And then here's the Google form. It's cut off, so this is just the top bit of it, but it's a pretty simple form. It's nice and clean. And that's pretty much that. Like I was saying before, I find they tend to complete quite quickly when they get this right away. And then the next slide is going to show us the completion email. So here it is. Here's, just as I was describing to you, our little advertisement for more services that they could sign up for. And then finally, the last category was the client-facing Zaps. So for this one, this is for our little emerging nonprofits. They're too small to have a donor management system yet. So we're not into Method or any of the other ones like that. But they do still need to send donor thank you letters. So what I've done here is take advantage of the fact that in QuickBooks Online, you can format an invoice any way you like. So this is, and what you're looking at right now is the top half of an invoice in QuickBooks Online that's been formatted as a donor thank you letter. So and this is just the sample one, so that it would normally have a correct date and the customer's name filled in, the donation amount. You know, it can say whatever, it can be formatted in whatever way your nonprofit wants their donor letter to look. And then here's the way the Zap looks. So once again, the client, my client fills out the Google form with the donation information. And here's where it's a little bit different from one of the earlier ones that I described, and that is, in this case, that donor might already exist in QuickBooks Online. So this Zap searches first to see if that donor is already there, and if so, it just moves on to the next step. If not, it creates the new customer, the new donor in QuickBooks Online. It creates this invoice, which is then, it's by default created as the donor thank you letter format. And then it sends an email to the client, to my nonprofit client, letting them know that the invoice has been created and is ready for them to print and mail on their schedule. So I thought people might wonder, why am I doing this as an invoice, not as a receipt? The simple answer is you can't format receipts like this in QuickBooks Online, but you can invoices. So anyway, so that is pretty much it. That's my next slide is my last slide, and it is it is a thank you to you guys. This is Heather, Liz, and Zapier. It's been great to get all these things automated, and we really love it.
Well, thank you, Neal, for coming on to the Appy Hour and sharing your brilliance with all of us. I was saying you're an absolute genius, which you are. So I ditto that. So lots of really positive responses in the chat window. So thanks. Those are some really amazing automations. I love what you did for that nonprofit company, because you're right. A lot of them just can't afford the fancy software they need to automate some of this stuff. So Zapier is a perfect tool to help them out. So that's fantastic. Right.
And there's nothing external that's going to hold you back from moving on. You know, they can move up easily. Everything is in QuickBooks this way.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, I've done that. I've done some stuff like that too with not-for-profits with PayPal. So PayPal is, you can also connect PayPal to Zapier. And so we've created automations of emails, special emails that are in the correct 501c3 donor letter format that automatically go to the donor. So there's a lot that you could do there. So thanks again for sharing with us. This was amazing.
You know, I just even want to say, Neal, it's because of, you know, having this community and sharing with each other that I just truly am always wowed by, you know, this whole community. And I love what you just shared. I mean, I just completely was just lockjawed just now. Mm-hmm. I'm blown away, and I'm so thankful for you showing everybody that's watching right now and who's going to watch this later.
Yeah.
Well, and I love some of the things that you said, and it was like some of even the little nuggets about, you know, showing them how you sent the automation and then saying, well, this is how this came to you. Would you like us to show you how to do this so you can do it too?
Yes.
I mean,
we forget, don't we? We forget to advertise ourselves, what we can do, don't we?
Yeah. Smart little genius nuggets. So thank you for sharing. And I've got to run, and I'm just really thankful I was here to see this. So thank you.
Liz, thanks for dropping in, and I'll talk to you later. Have a wonderful session. Have fun with QuickBooks Online Jeopardy! It's going to be so fun.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It got loud for a minute. So I'm going to hop back in there. And so bye, Heather. Bye, Neal. Bye, Jessie. Bye, everyone.
Take care, Liz.
Bye. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, so amazing. So Eileen's saying we all have the best QuickBooks group in the universe. We do. We love all of you guys. We love getting together, you know, a couple times a month and just talking shop, right? So it's time to raise a toast. I did make our drink, but I have to tell you, I couldn't find blood orange juice. I went to 3 stores looking for blood orange juice, and I couldn't find it. So I have regular orange juice, but then to make it look like blood orange juice, I happen to have what do I have? It's red and it's weird looking, and my son made me buy it last week. I don't know, it's like a passion fruit. It's not a passion fruit. Anyway, it's this super pinky thing, and I can't remember what it is, and it'll come to me like later in my sleep. But I added some, and now it looks like a blood orange Zachary. So perfect. Cheers to Zapier, and here's our lovely recipe. So it's got a little bit of rum, blood orange juice, some lime juice, and I left out the simple syrup because I'm trying not to drink sugar. So I will let you know. Did you make one, Neal? Oh, you've got one? Yay! So cheers. And it's really good. Wow, that is delicious. I really like it.
Awesome. Yeah, and for those of you on the call who don't know, when Heather mentioned this to us, I got the entire company involved to vote on the name of this drink and the ingredients. So this is truly a Zapier designed official cocktail that we have all now adopted.
Oh my gosh, it is so good. It's delicious. The lime in it, the little bit of lime juice just gives it this really nice, nice flavor. And you know what, Jessie, you could actually make a virgin version of this really easily, because it's just juice and lime juice and a little bit of simple syrup.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'll have to do that for next time. Every webinar moving forward that I have with you, I'll bring my virgin.
You'll bring a mocktail, yeah. They're just as good. They're just as good. So, oh, Tiffany says, was it pomegranate? It wasn't, and now I can't believe it. It has this really weird name. So I'll think about it and try to remember what it is. So, Jessie, I'm so excited to have you present on automation. You had done a presentation in Kelly Park's group about, we did it together back in the spring, and it was amazing. You were talking about systems thinking and how to kind of, I think what you were talking about is not using Zapier as a Band-Aid, but actually looking at the entire system and how important that is when you're thinking about automation. So I'm super excited for you to share with us again, because you've got some really smart things going on in your head.
Perfect. Yes.
So thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for having me. So just to do a quick reintroduction, because I know a couple folks as Heather mentioned earlier in the call, I'm the community manager at Zapier, and I also run our experts program, and that's where I help teach and certify consultants and agencies who use Zapier with their clients. So I've actually helped certify Heather as well. So she's legit. I can say that. She knows what she's doing. Trust her. And before I kind of hop into everything, I really just wanted to say thank you to Neal for sharing your Zapier story and really talking through some of the automated workflows that helped you scale your business. And also, of course, a huge thanks to Heather for helping to facilitate, a lot of the learning that inspires folks like Neal to give Zapier a try. And we're actually working on our mission statement at Zapier and tweaking it a bit, and our new mission statements around democratizing automation. And that's because we really, truly believe that every business owner can benefit from Zapier in their business in their own way. And it's really nice to see that exemplified here today. So thank you again for sharing your story. And to kind of hop right into things, now that we've seen a few ways that Zapier can be used in a specific use case, I really wanted to take a step back and talk about how you can get yourself into that point where you understand, okay, which of these steps in my process add value, which of them don't, and where can I use a tool like Zapier to help add more value and to reduce some of the business costs that you might have. Next slide, please. So this is actually something that we hear super often at Zapier, specifically from folks who are just getting started. So I've heard of Zapier. I've heard it's really cool, but I'm just not really sure how or where or when I should use it. And I imagine there's some of you on the call who use Zapier, and maybe there's some of you on the call who might be on the same boat as the folks who say this to us. And I hope that you've felt inspired by now by some of Neal's awesome workflows that she shared. But I really want you to walk away from this part of the presentation with the confidence of knowing how exactly to find the pieces of your business that are just meant for Zapier, where there's like a perfect fit for automation. Next slide, please. Awesome. So as Heather briefly mentioned, I was on another webinar with her and Kelly from another accounting Facebook group. And, I've talked about some of documenting your processes and systems thinking. And really the place to get started with all of this, how to wrangle it all in, is you really want to start to just document your processes. And this really doesn't have to be complicated at all. So, a process in its most simple form is just simply a list of ordered steps that each start with a verb. And once you've got your process and your steps listed out, I personally like to move things over to a more visual space like Miro, which is kind of like a flow charting tool. You can add sticky notes, things like that. It's totally free to use. Personally, I'm a visual thinker, so I like to see my processes all laid out in front of me. But of course, feel free to work in the ways that work best for you, even if that means, using a pen and paper or typing in things into a spreadsheet or a Google Doc or whatever you need. The important part is that you're actually documenting your process somewhere so you can understand it in its entirety. Next slide, please. Cool. So I want to talk a little bit about a pretty common workflow that most of you have in your business, which is client onboarding. And I chatted with Heather briefly about what onboarding might look like for some of you folks. And I took what she gave me and I simplified it down just to give a little bit of an example here. So if we list out the steps, this is what that process might look like. And the first step in the process, especially in Zapier terms, is called a trigger. So a trigger is the event that has to happen for all those other things after it to occur. So in this case, that's going to be the client accepting the proposal. So once the proposal is accepted, all the following actions can occur. You create the customer in QuickBooks, you create the invoice for them, you collect the payment, set up the Slack channel, set up the folder and share file, and then send the confirmation email. Next slide, please. So the next thing that I like to do when I have my process written down is I like to take that list and I like to head to that tool Miro that I was talking about to start creating a flow chart. And the first thing I do is I create a frame to signify that all of these steps are part of one particular process. So here I've named it Client Onboarding Opportunity Flowchart. And then I have broken the frame down into two different sections. One is cost added, which is not great, and then value added, which are the things that we really love that contribute to us making money and scaling our businesses, right? So in more formal terms, this type of flowchart is called an opportunity flowchart. And these are specifically meant to help highlight different opportunities in your process that can be improved upon. So, you know, in our case, that really means finding the steps in our process that we can automate, and in some cases, even remove. So if we go to the next slide, we'll see what this starts to look like. Great. So what I've done here is I've added the process to the value added section just to get a visual view of our steps. And sometimes when we think about our processes, we're like, oh, of course, like all of these steps add value. And I'm not saying that they aren't necessary steps to the client onboarding process, but we really need to figure out if they add value or not. So once we have everything laid out in front of us here, this is where we can review each of these steps and ask ourselves, you know, is this particular step adding direct value to my business, or is this a cost to my business in the form of time and money that isn't directly contributing to value? So again, while maybe creating a Slack channel is necessary, it's not really adding the same value as collecting payment. That's actual monetary value that's going in your pocket and helping your business grow. So on the next slide, what I've done here is I've started moving some of those steps over to the cost added section. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. So we can kind of walk through this. So the client is accepting the proposal, right? We need that to happen. It's really important to our business. If they don't do this, we don't have the client. And then we kind of get down to these manual steps, things that are costing us time and money. Again, creating that customer, creating the invoice, creating the Slack channel, the share file folder, sending the confirmation email. All these things are important, but are they necessary for us to be doing manually? So now that we've kind of identified these opportunities, and that's anything in the cost added section, we know that that's where automation comes in. So our trigger here is that the client is accepting the proposal in Practice Ignition, we'll just assume. So the next thing we want to do is we actually want to check Zapier to make sure that we can actually trigger off of the proposal being accepted. And to know that your trigger should almost always be a value added event. Probably don't want to trigger off of something later in the process. You probably want to catch your process early so you can automate as many steps as possible. So in the next slide, what I've gone ahead and done is I searched Zapier. So we have an app directory where you can look up whatever apps that you're using. So again, in this case, Practice Ignition. And you can scroll down to supported triggers and actions. So when we check things, we can see that a supported trigger is proposal accepted. And that's exactly what we need to be able to start a Zap. That's what we call it in Zapier terms, but that's just another word for starting our automated workflow, the automated workflow of our process. Next slide, please. All right, so for here, we're gonna focus on our cost added steps and see if the following actions and the apps that you use are supported in Zapier. So of course, you're gonna have to look all these up in the app directory just to make sure that we support exactly what you need. But I already know that they're supported, so we don't have to worry about that. So now when a proposal is accepted, all of these steps are going to happen automatically. And that's going to save you money, and especially time that you're spending doing this manually. And time is money anyway, right? So using this opportunity flowchart is a really simple way of identifying where Zapier can help automate the pieces of your process. And then my last slide here, I just wanted to give a quick shout out about a community forum that we're launching that I wanted to make sure that you all had access to. So again, We're still in beta mode. I'm the community manager, so if you have any problems, just let me know. But if you head to community.zapier.com and you sign in just with your Zapier email address, you're going to get access automatically, and that's where you can ask questions about Zapier, get app suggestions, workflow help, stay up to date with big company announcements, upcoming feature releases, and get to talk to people like Heather, our certified experts, and get that advice to help you build the best workflow you need to scale your business. So just wanted to say thank you to everyone, and thank you to Heather for having me on here. And I really hope that this information and using something like an opportunity flowchart can really help you to see those pieces in your process where Zapier can be really helpful. So thanks again.
I love that so much, Jessie. Going back to that flow chart, I've never actually seen it broken out that way, where you say you break it, for the value added, to identify the value added steps and the steps that are costing you. Like I kind of done it a different way, but I love that because it just makes it so crystal clear on where your workflow should start, and then you can focus on what you're going to eliminate for those steps. So. Love that.
For sure.
And yeah, in the Zapier community, I just joined a couple of weeks ago, so I'm still getting my feet wet over there. But do head over there, everybody. If you're looking to learn more about Zapier and you have questions, definitely I'll be hanging out there. There's lots of other Zapier experts and Zapier enthusiasts for you to pose questions to and possibly help somebody else out on your own. For those of you, and I just want to see a show of hands, how many of you don't know what Zapier does? So I realized as we were talking about, all the stuff that Zapier does and how he automated, how many of you are like, I know this is cool, but I have no idea how it works? All right, so we have quite a few, which is kind of what I figured. So I think I want to roll things back a little bit and just kind of explain, and maybe Jessie, you could explain how it works, or we could try and do it together.
Sure. Yeah, that works for me.
Okay.
You want to start, or you want me to start?
I'll start, and you can jump in. I was going to head on out to the Zapier website and just kind of, I think visually your website kind of actually showing them what a Zap would look like might be helpful. So I've headed out to the Zapier website, and what Zapier does is it's what I call a connector app. So it's a utility app. It's in that utility app of class of apps that I call anyway. And what it does is it allows you to connect, or allows app developers to connect the APIs from their application to Zapier, and then folks can create automations and integrations between those applications without knowing any code whatsoever. So it literally is it's a way for us to build these automations without having any programming experience at all. So when you first log into Zapier, and I'll go ahead and log into my account, you're going to find that there's a lot of kind of plug and play apps, so workflow automations that have already been pre-built by the developers that you can just literally plug and play, connect your accounts for each of those apps to in the Zap editor, and really get them going pretty quickly. So I actually love, Jessie, this explore button where you can actually look for the apps that you are using, and then if you scroll down, it'll actually tell you popular Zaps these are basically Zap templates that will help you to get started. So if I wanted to take all new Gmail attachments to Google Drive, right, I wanted to just make sure they auto-save to Google Drive, all I'd have to do is click on Use this Zap, give my Zap a name, and then connect my accounts to it, and it would automatically, every time an email comes in my Gmail account, it would automatically grab that attachment, and it would automatically upload it to a folder in Google Drive. So you can see how easy this is. It's asking me for the account. If I didn't already have an account connected, I could select a new one. I have a whole bunch connected here, actually. And then it also asks me to connect my Google Drive account. And one of the newest features, Jessie, right, is in the last 6 months or so, is now we have that single sign-on with Google, right? So you can actually connect all your
Yep.
Google applications just at one time, which is a huge time saver. So if I were to click right here and turn on Zap, guess what, guys? I'm done. Every single every single attachment that would be attached to my Gmail email that comes in would automatically be uploaded to a Google Drive folder. So I could also click in to go to advanced mode, and I could actually select which folder in my Google Drive I want these attachments to go to. I could filter to tell Zapier only bring in certain types of attachments or only bring in certain attachments from certain people by using some of the Zapier built-in apps like Filter and Formatter. So there's really, when you first get started using Zapier, you can use these plug-and-play one-step zaps to help you get your feet wet to start to automate some of the things that you're doing over and over again manually. And then once you're comfortable with that, you'll find that you kind of get a thirst of wanting to know more and more and more, and you want to kind of automate everything. So you'll start to learn more about the filters and the formatters and things like that. But it's super easy to get started. There is a free version of Zapier that does allow you to build 5 zaps with just the one-step zaps. So this would be one of those types of zaps that you could do for free. And, you know, that's a really great way to get started. Just if I click on the advanced mode, I just wanted to show you really quickly what the Zap editor looks like. And I have an older version of the Zap. Oh no, I now have the new version of the Zap editor. This is the first time I've seen it in my account. So it literally walks you through the workflow. So this is the first step. This is the trigger. I would go ahead and click to complete the step, fill out the information, and then I would move on to the next step. And then every additional step that I wanted to add, I just click the plus sign. I could go ahead and select the app that I wanted to add. So maybe I wanted to add something to Slack. I just type in Slack, and then I would go ahead and I would select what I wanted to have happen. Maybe I want to send a direct message or a channel message, and then I would be able to go through and map out either add information or data from one of the previous steps right into that Slack channel. So that's how easy it is. As you notice, there's no coding going on here whatsoever. This is literally just me selecting the different fields and the different applications and telling them where I want them to go and the order that I want them to happen in. So that's just a quick primer. You can use it very simplistically, or you can jump in like Brian, Claire, and Neil, and myself, and Jessie, and really become a Zapier enthusiast and build out some pretty amazing automations. So my biggest zap is a 48-step zap. I think, Brian, you've got like something like 78, right? He's got a giant zap that 59. He's got a 59-step zap. So, but it is. I think somebody once told me that Zapier is like a gateway drug to becoming a automation specialist, because once you start making this magic of workflow automation, you can't stop. So, it's pretty amazing.
Definitely. And think about all the time that's saved in those very long zaps that you made before. You'd have to do that manually.
Exactly.
How long would that take?
Right. I think I did a webinar with Practice Ignition, and they were saying that they save about, I want to say they were saving like 500 hours a month with all of their automations. I don't save that much time just because I'm me. I'm not a big company. So when I'm talking to the other Zapier experts and they're telling me how many hours they save, I feel like little, because my stuff doesn't take that long. But it's getting bigger, and some of my clients are actually saving a lot of time from some of the zaps that I've built. So anyway, so that is Zapier. Anything else that you would add, Jessie, on getting started with Zapier?
I don't think so. I mean, just knowing the terminology, you know, a zap is what you're looking at right here. Your first step is always your trigger. That's what I was talking about in the process. That's your trigger event. So that once that happens, everything under it will happen afterward. And those are your actions. And then you have things like single step zap, multi-step zap, when Heather kind of touched upon that. So a single step zap, that's what you can use on the free plan. So that's when you have one trigger and one action. But as soon as Heather adds this extra step to send a Slack message, that makes it a multi-step zap. So after your free trial runs out, that's something you'll have to upgrade for. However, if you're just getting started, you could always create a new zap where it's just Gmail, new attachments to send a message in Slack. So you can kind of get around it that way. if you still wanted to experiment in the meantime. But yeah, but this is a big reason why I really try to encourage people to write down their process first and figure out, okay, what's taking me a long time? Like what's making up the biggest chunks of my day, and what does that look like in the process? And then going to Zapier and seeing, okay, well, I'm doing this in QuickBooks and that's taking a long time. I'm doing this in Practice Ignition, that's taking a long time. I'm creating all these tasks in my project management tool, that's taking a long time. If you go and see that those apps are supported on Zapier, like we probably have a trigger or an action that can help you out there that can take away that manual step for you. So as long as you're understanding how your process flows, you should be able to mirror almost all of it in Zapier.
Absolutely. And I mean, I got started with Zapier because I found that I was doing the same task over and over again, whether it was right clicking on a file and saving it somewhere, or, you know, as Neal said, setting up that file structure and share file every single time. And so that's really where I got started. And then once I was kind of got my feet wet, then I was starting to think about that systems thinking, and I started to realize I don't need 5 zaps. I need 1 zap. Like I can combine these into a single zap. So Jessie just saved you a whole lot of time by teaching you to look at your whole process first, so that you can build your zaps correctly the first time and have 1 zap instead of 5. So, like I did way back when. So,
hey, you live it, and you learn. But that's
again,
yeah, that's why I like to break down the process, and also to help people, because sometimes when you get into automation, you're like, I'm going to automate everything. And like, sure, like we want that, but there are some things that you just shouldn't automate. Some things that you really need the human touch that are really important to your customer experience. Like, you know, you still need that human element of your business. And that's why I really encourage breaking down your process to just take away the boring manual pieces so you can spend more time with your customers and creating those relationships. And also just wanted to quickly respond to Jim, who asked if Zapier can receive an email with an Excel balance sheet and be able to pick out a number. So right now, no, that's not something that we can do just normally looking into an attachment. But if you use a service, I think mailparser.io will allow you to actually look inside of an attachment, grab that data, and then use that in your Zap. And of course, we support mailparser.io on Zapier. So that's just a little workaround if you want to try to get around that.
Awesome. And then somebody else had asked about the pricing. You can find the pricing, of course, on the Zapier website. But as we mentioned before, it starts with free, and you can go all the way up to the Teams plan if you're working with a large team. So that goes up to $250. But the starter plan, I have the starter plan, which is $20 a month. It's 20 zaps. You get all the premium zaps. I was on that for a good 2 to 3 years before I upgraded to Pro. So that's usually enough for most people to get started. So awesome. So thanks again. I'm going to head back over to our deck. I think we have just a couple of minutes. We have 1 minute. So I'm going to go through my coolest things really, really fast. So cool tools that I learned from Jessie. One that we're not sure I learned from Jessie, but one I definitely learned from Jessie. CloudApp and Clipboard Apps. So CloudApp it's similar to, if you use Loom, it's very similar to that. So what it allows you to do is to do a screen grab on your screen, and then as soon as you save that screen grab, it actually creates an automatic link in a widget in your taskbar down in your, if you use Windows. I don't know what it looks like in Mac because I'm a Windows user. So what I could do is I could take a little screen grab, and then I could do it via video or simply just an image, and I can record my voice, I can record my video cam, and then it will automatically create a link, and I can just send that link wherever I want. So it's pretty amazing. It saves a lot of time. I use Snagit, and so my old process was record the video, save it to an MP4 in Snagit, then upload it, attach it to an email, and hit send. Now I literally click the link to send it, yeah, it saves a ton of time. And you can even, because I work with clients, I actually bought a plan that allows me to use my own branding, my custom domain, and I can make it secure so that if I'm sending, a screen share for a client and I want to make sure nobody gets access to it accidentally, I can do that. So that's the first cool thing. And then the second one was Clipboard Apps. So I am copying and pasting everything all the time, right? And so some of the things that are frustrating, sometimes it's frustrating to me, especially when I'm working on content, is I'll copy something and I'll be like, oh, I got to go copy that again. Well, these clipboard apps, and there's a zillion of them out there. In fact, Windows has the feature. If you actually turn the feature on in your Windows setting and press the Windows key and V, it will actually give you a whole list of the last few items from your clipboard, and you can just select it and paste it so it'll remember. The problem with that is that there's no way to exclude passwords. So if you're copying and pasting passwords, you don't really want that in your clipboard. It's a security risk. So there are other ones out there like this one, which is called, it's Comfort Software's Clipboard Manager. It allows you to exclude passwords, and also you can exclude certain applications completely so that it won't save any of those copies to the clipboard. But it's a huge time saver for me. I use it all the time. So those are two cool apps that I wanted to share with you guys. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you to Neal. Thank you to Jessie. Please visit our website. You'll be able to view our recorded episodes. We're completely up to date, and I will get this episode uploaded probably tomorrow. You can also connect with the sponsors, get drink recipes, read our blog, send us a message. And don't forget to visit the Zapier website. You can visit Neal too, all about business services. It's allaboutservices.com is your website, right? Join our Facebook group and make sure that you register for Zoom so that you can ask us questions inside the environment. And our next episode is on October 8th. We'll be talking to Jennifer Brazier, who is one kick-ass woman. She has a firm in Austin, Texas, and let me tell you, she is brilliant. You do not want to miss her at our next episode. And she'll be talking about how she's grown her practice. She's got over 45 employees in her practice, and she is a partner with ADP. So she's going to be talking to us about that. And then you can see we have quite the lineup lined up here over the next couple of months. So thanks again for joining us. Thank you to Zapier. Thank you to ADP. And thank you to Neal and Jessie again. And thank you to all of you. I hope to see you guys again really, really soon. That's right. Kylie from Locate's here. And Kylie, there's going to be Zapier coming pretty soon, right? For Locate? Yay! Yes. So look out for that. All right, everybody. Oh, you guys are on the platform. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome.
Have a great day.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.